enthusiasm
土器や
as
像
a
が理性を圧
psychological
倒し、
warfare.
帝国軍の関心がアッシュビー個人に集中する。
No, not.
その
I
結
mean,
果
what
帝
is it?
国軍
He's
の戦闘
goading
は
the enemy to
しばし
attack.
ば
Like,
戦略
yeah,
的
I'm
課
the
題を
one who
ないがし
beat
ろに
you,
する
right?
傾向に
Focus.
陥り、
You know,
アッシュビーの華麗な個人プレーに再生してやら
Raised
れる結果を生ん
parents'
だ。そうだとしたら見
emerness?
事な
Wasn't
演
even a
出家ぶ
word.
りというべきだろう。
Emerness.
自分の才能を最大限に生
evenness.
かす、
It
その
was
術
an
を
M.
心得てい
Emerness.
たということか。
I think it's that English problem that's getting into
Yeah.
a bunch of the text. Hey everybody, welcome back to another Stone Face Reactions. I'm Theta, this is Lessons, and we are here with episode 3 of Legend of the Galactic Heroes Gaiden, Spiral Labyrinth. Go and remind us what happened last time, with as few words as possible.
And fewer mistakes. Last time, our hero Wei Ling has been made into a hero, celebrated for saving 3 million lives, and is quickly overwhelmed by all the attention. He gets an older man who becomes a PR officer and gets bombarded by messages from TV stations and all that, including being offered to be paid 10,000, 100,000, 200,000 dinars. I don't know how much. Gets his own apartment in the process too. Eventually, after a dinner where he is the center of attention and people, someone comes up to them and says, "Oh yeah, we're your lost cousin," whatever. He's like, "Yeah, where were you when I needed the money?" And hearing all the officers, talk down to him, he has a brief meeting with the commander of the fleet, the admiral, who's just simply, says hi. Wei Ling says he got lucky. Admiral smiles and he walks away. Right. And eventually he's in the apartment. We presume about a month has passed because he arrived in September and it's October, fall. And he gets a couple of messages from friends saying, "Oh, hey, we know you're there, etc." And he also gets an invite to I don't know the specific office, but it's supposed to be somebody who deals with logistics in the fleet. And he's supposed to be an expert in logistics.
Sorry, I
He
was
was,
going to interject. I have no idea. Which is
yeah.
not a great interjection to make.
And so he gets into this meeting, and after talking about the fact that yes, while a double promotion for somebody as young as Wei Ling going from lieutenant junior grade to lieutenant commander is both rare. In fact, they even had to wait 6 hours so they wouldn't do it, seemingly, double stack it because he's alive, and according to tradition, you only do that to the people who are dead. I guess they're checking. Oh, is he still alive after 6 hours? Hasn't died from the shock? Okay, he gets second promotion. I guess that's what they were counting on.
Sorry, I was thinking about something that's been recently in the news.
Yeah. And basically, after a long conversation, he convinces him that there's somebody sending letters to headquarters every Tuesday saying, hey, a very famous figure who was also a very young admiral was murdered instead of dying in the last battle he won, right? And it's your job to investigate. He's like, well, I don't think that's a good idea. He's like, listen, you're too young to retire. You'll get no money from it because you don't have the 10 years or more that you need for a pension, right? It's not simply rank; it's also time served, which is usually how pensions work. So you're gonna, be penniless. Second, you're a break hero, so the only real path to you is politics, essentially. Marry a pretty girl, get into politics, and if you succeed, great. If not, then you're stuck being a has-been politician that once was a hero 10, 20 years ago with a wife you can't support, maybe divorced. So, that might be a bad thing. And third, this is just a preliminary investigation. We don't have anything for you. Like, really, we don't, just like last time, we really don't have anything for you. You just have to make a preliminary investigation to see whether or not there's something to this proclamation that this man was murdered, and then a committee will take care of it. It's like, and he said, well, wait a minute. If I'm the one who opens this, I'm the one who's going to take all the fire for this, especially if it's a historical fact already established that, he died in battle. I'm the one who has to overturn it. So it's very interesting. He's seeing it from the point of view of a historian, right? That overturning established historical events, it's not something you do lightly. And also from a political, personal perspective, like I'm putting possibly my livelihood on the risk. I could, they could, the armed forces could try to destroy me if I potentially accuse them of murdering their own hero, right? But hey, anybody said, you have nothing better to do, dude. It, just do it. Take your time, and we'll see what happens.
It's certainly being genre savvy.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen enough movies. I know what happens to the investigator. He's the one that dies that causes the hero to have to look into this.
The real hero.
Yes, I don't know.
So
He just had a lot of paperwork in his apartment. Something about the 730 Mafia. No one wants to be that guy.
And the stack of papers that said this guy was murdered every Tuesday. I guess
Yeah.
emailing people is not
Which
a
is
thing.
that's an insane thing to keep track. If you just got like spam email, you know, that said like I can't even think of a conspiracy because I'm not a conspiracy guy, but you know, just a random conspiracy, but it's the same one every week in a spam email. You'd be like, block that address. Yeah, like
yeah.
what?
But I guess he sends them by letter so that they can't do that.
Well,
is there actually email in the system? We have video calls, but no emails.
My first thought was literally, hey, we've got a lot of military officers that don't do anything. Because, you know, we got a surplus of people below the poverty line that join the military for the free whatever, right? So we've got too many people, which is like literally the anti-version of maybe we've got too few people and too many ships that I said before. Maybe we have too many people and we've got to find busy work. So we take every threat seriously worthy of investigation because we got a lot of free people to do initial investigations with.
Guy's as good as guess as any.
Yeah, well, I mean, literally, I've guessed either way. I mean, I've guessed we got too few people, and now I'm guessing I have too many. I can't be wrong at this point. You know, unless they're in the Goldilocks zone of having just the exact right amount of people.
So yeah, that's it.
Well, I mean, again, nothing to really look at because we're recording 2 episodes back to back. So, I guess there's nothing left to do but to get on into it.
But before we get started,
make sure that you hit the like button,
hit that subscribe button,
comment down below to feed that algorithm.
On top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this,
unfiltered,
uncensored,
and uncut,
as well as some early access stuff,
you can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
To be fair to this, I do not anticipate that in 14 episodes we're going to get a new opening. However, after 14 episodes, we go to a Gaiden from 1999. Or either this is 1999 or we go to a Gaiden from 1998. I can't remember. But it's a different Gaiden. So, should I have a different opening? I think. I haven't investigated. It might be actually literally the same Gaiden. So.
Yeah.
Let me just double check here. Legend of the Galactic Heroes Gaiden, 1999, OVA side series, 1999 to 2000, and the next one should be a different one. Legend of the Galactic Heroes Gaiden, no 1999, OVA side series from 1998.
I mean, this has a lot of episodes. This series must be insanely popular. It was anyway.
Oh yeah, no, it was. Enough that they literally remade it in the early 2000s. Plus, God, if you've ever seen its wiki, because I used its wiki for figuring out the outfits.
Yeah.
Well, because remember, I had to send the shit to the artist, and I had to know what the hell to send them. The wiki is so in depth. I mean, that's where I got the bonus thing of Yang's heroes, Yang's female heroes, or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
I was getting what characters were in this episode, and it's just like, hey, here's a little bonus information about that book that was on his face. Because, I mean, you know the main series is 100 episodes. And we've got, over 100 episodes before we get to those 100 episodes. Plus...
Yeah, we're going to be doing this for a while.
Well, I mean, as long as we cross, I imagine. Plus 3 films.
123件が該当します。その他にテレビドラマと映画で12件。どれを表示しますか？
やれや
That's
れ。
about as many as I was just talking about in this series.
Any allusions to this particular series?
I mean, there are also novels about this. Legend of the Galactic Heroes.
745年に戦死した時大将であった。死後元帥に昇進している。第二次ティアマト海戦において同盟軍を完勝に導いた偉大な指揮官であり、彼と名声を等しくする軍事的英雄はダゴン聖域海
As
戦
we heard about last time. I appreciate that there's names from all
まあ
nationalities.
ヤン・ウェンリーのような即席英雄とは格が違う。
I mean, the thing is, it's just like
士官学校を卒業
way into the future, right?
開校以来の秀才と言われていた。
So we don't know. Again, we don't know
一生の恥辱だと叫んで無念があったという。
私なんか
UC728.
毎年落第を免れただけ
I
で
was wondering his score was
胸を
triple
打
A
ち
and
していたも
everything.
のだがな。
20歳のブルース・アッシュビーは身長186センチ。金星の取れた長身に青年らしい英気をみなぎらせた端正な美丈夫で。
Thank you, computer, for telling me he was handsome.
風格を備えていたと言われる。勝利の身で大佐より偉そうに見えたという。
大げさな。
You know I'm going to be
だが
screenshotting that for
ブルース
myself
アッシ
later
ュビー
and
には確か
reversing
に
it to
一
see
軍の
what it
指揮す
said.
るに足ると思わせる風格があるな。鋭く輝く両眼には他者を威圧する光が満ち、そのきつさを微笑をたたえた口元が和らげている。
I'm going to make a
He
new
was
guess.
Bishonen.
恩
He
義があ
was
り行う
Bishonen.
という表現そのまま
He was the Bishonen admiral.
I'm going to make a new guess
即席英雄
and
の
say
ヤン
that he
ウェン
was a
リーには
spy.
見るからに人の上に立つ
Oh.
品格とか、颯爽たる英
The
士と
moment
か、
I saw
そういうの
him,
はないな。
I thought, this guy looks like an Imperial to
まあ
me.
別にブルース・アッシュビーの
Maybe
真
not a
似をし
spy,
よう
but I
って
think
わ
he
け
was
じゃ
an
ない。
Imperial.
ブルース・アッシュビーの司令部は士官学校の同期生で固められていた。彼らは宇宙歴700
I'll say right now,
6月の卒業生
never
であったた
heard
め
of this guy in D&T, so I have no idea who he is or what this is.
それほど排他的な集団であったわけではない。ただ、士官学校の同期生が卒業後15年にわたって一軍の中核をなし、有機的な人的結合によって偉大な業績を上げた例は極めて少なく、彼らの存在が歴史
I
上
mean, people
に
get
際立つ
deployed to other areas, so yeah, that would be
730
rare.
年マフィアか。
ブルース・アッシュビーを中心に、アルフレッド・ローザス、フレデリック・ジャスパー、
And this is why the board is going to grow 5 times as big as it
バー
was.
チューリン、ジョン・ドリンカー・コープらがその幕僚団で全員が大将まで昇進
John
した
Drinker Cope.
宇宙歴
He's got a problem.
788年現在生存しているのはアルフレッド・ローザスだけである。
ということは78歳か。
行動にしろ結果にしろアッシュビーは劇的であることを
Again, this war seems to be going for a century or more.
彼が参加した海戦はまさにその事実によっていずれも名海戦たり得たのであ
Or
る。
thousands
な
of
ん
years.
とまあ、
まずブルース・アッシュビーが
Ah, that's my favorite kind of burger.
この
Big.
表はアッシュビーが
Just
I am
big.
American.
ような印象を与えかねない恐れがある。彼は35歳にして大将、自由惑星同盟軍
You want to feed that anti-imperial
I'll be fair, that does not
hunger?
look like a good burger, though.
戦争に対
No,
して
looks
会議を
yeah, it looks like
開
a
いていなかったことは確
It's
か
a
だ。
meat
No
patty
cheese, no
between two
nothing.
pancakes.
アッシュビーが個
Yeah.
人として道徳的に劣悪であったとはいえ、
As a man,
アッシュビーは
his duty as a man
自身の
khaki
任務を果たすにあたって
had
権利を
been
行使するかのように積極的であり、闊達であった。そう評したのはアッシュビーの信任厚い幕僚であったアルフレッド・ローザス大将であった。彼が宇宙歴778年に発表した回想録はノンフィクションの賞を獲得し、同盟軍
this
史
is
上
definitely be an episode that I watch for notes because there's so
ロ
much
ーザ
going
ス
on.
大将の回想録か。
ブルース・アッシュビーの名は帝国軍にも当然知れ
So
渡
much
らず
going
で
on
はいなかった
just listening to a thing. So much on the screen above and then the words.
431年にあたるが、その年の帝国軍務省の公式文書にブルース・アッシュビーなるハントどもの巨海という表現が見られる。この時点でアッシュビーの存在は敵軍にとって無視できぬ大きさになっていたのだ。それは無論実績によるものであったが、同時に宣伝によるものであることも否定できない。軍事的英雄がしばしばそうであるように、ブルース・アッシュビーにも知気と活気があった。帝国軍に勝利すると、彼は敗れた敵に向かって打電し、自らの優先を誇ったのである。宇宙歴742年、ドラゴニア海戦の際に敵に送信した。
I thought the Battle of Dragonia was the other guys.
帝国軍に次ぐお前たちを叩きのめした人物はブルース・アッシュビーだ。次に叩きのめす人物はブルース・アッシュビーだ。忘れずにいてもらおう。
This I can tell was the
これは
past.
帝国軍も
Video
怒っただろう。
technology sucked more, I
コンピュータ
guess.
ー帝国軍の記録でブルース・アッシュビーに
Yeah,
関する
that
ものはあ
that
るか。
what's
公式記録は
What's that Apple iMovie player sucked.
I mean, it's either that or it's going to be the implication that the flickering is because it's been modified.
Altered.
ケルトリング元帥が諸将を叱咤した時の映像である。静止は問わぬ。アッシュビーという反将の首を陛下の御前に据えよう。この命令を
Also, Zeke Zeon.
人心として望みうる限りの名誉と風紀が与えられるであろうぞ。元帥の長男ヘルマン。
Well, you can't throw those two things out there. Although if possible and imaginable, I can imagine a lot more than's possible.
But if you imagine it, it is I don't want to go to that rabbit hole. Never mind. No.
Can God create a rock heavier than he can lift?
ケルトリング元帥は軍務少将在任のまま病床に倒れたが、見舞いに訪れた甥のウィルヘルム・フォン・ミッケンベルガー中将
Ah, Muckenberger, I remember that
ア
name.
ッシュビーを倒せとあえぐように2度繰り返した後、そ
Oh.
の姿勢のまま息を引き取ったと言われている。
猛襲と言うべきか壮絶な話だ。だがアシュビーが必要以上に憎悪を煽った印象は拭えないな。もっともこの逸話は同盟では広く知れ渡っている。だが実
Yeah,
際には
how
どうだった
good
のか。
can a historical
帝国
story
の情報は
sound
フェザーンを経
before
由し
you
て
have
入
to
ってくる
wonder
が
if it's been
その
edited
間
to
にどの
sound
ように
good?
演出しているか分かったものじゃない。予断は禁物だが。実際にはどういう人だったのだろう、アシュビー提督は。同盟では
What
彼を
was?
戦死した日
Or
を
who
公
was?
式の記念日としているぐらいで、
No, I said, what was he like in
国民的英雄とし
reality?
て崇められ、
Oh,
マイナ
that's
ス
a
の
what
話はあまり
question.
語られない。だが人間であ
If he
る
was
以
a
上
who was he
欠点もある
like, we'd be comparing him
そ
to
れを指摘
somebody.
したところで彼を誹謗することにはならないはず
I
だが。
mean, not really. I mean,
Who was he
Who
like?
is?
Was he like me? Was he like Jesus?
神話
You
を打
know,
破すると
it's
い
a
う
who
目的を
question.
優先するあまり、
What was he
欠
like
点を
can be
誇張して
anything.
美点を無視するというのも公平とは言えないだろうな。アシュビーが進んで敵の憎悪を買うような行動に出た理由は単なる子供っぽい虚栄心なのだろうか。いや、一面では敵に対して一種の心理戦を仕掛けたのではないか。
Enthusiasm
時や
as
憎悪が犠牲を圧
psychological
倒し、
warfare.
帝国軍の関心がアッシュビー個人に集中する。
No, not. I mean, what is it? He's goading the enemy to attack. Like, yeah, I'm the one who beat you, right? Focus, you know.
アッシュビーの華麗な個人プレーに再三
Raise
してやられていたんだ。
parents'
そうだとしたら見
emerness?
事な
Wasn't
演
the
出家ぶ
word
りというべきだろう。
emerness.
自分の才能を最大限に生かす。
Was
その
an
術を
M
覚えてい
emerness.
たということか。
I think it's that English problem that's getting into
Yeah.
a bunch of the text.
よ、やってるか？
まだ手をつけたばかりで教科書の復習をしてま
Did
す
you
よ。
know there's 127 books I have to read?
ところで何か用か？
昨日聞き忘れたんですが、例の当初、差出人の署名はなかったんですか？あったんですね。
There wasn't on the papers
どう
you
したん
showed
です
us.
しょうがないな。会ったことはあった。差出人はルシンダ・アッシュビーとなっていた。
ルシンダ・アッシュビー。
アッシュビー提督の2番目の夫人だった人だ。
未亡人ですか？
いや、提督が亡くなる前に離婚しているから、正確にはアッシュビーの姓を名乗る資格はない。だが、離婚後もこの夫人はアッシュビーの姓を使用していて、そのことで提督との間には険悪なものがあったという。
それじゃあ、その夫人が元の夫の死に疑問を投げかけたというわけですか？
That's one of those words I don't actually know the definition of, but by context I know is negative.
去年
Acrimonious, I mean.
死因は
Oh,
睡眠
yeah,
薬
the
の服用量を誤ってとある。
difficult. Be the
霊界で
translation to
現
it.
世の当初が流行っていないとすれば、誰か生きている人間が夫人の名を
Unless it's
語っていること
Vogue in
になりますね。
ルシンダ夫人が当初の主でないことは調べればすぐわかることだ。それを知らなかったのか。
知っていて恋に死者の名を語ったのか。
どうだ、少しは興味が湧いてきただろ
I mean, unless the thing is like,
Eh,
there's more in
demo.
the text of the statement
この
than there
件に関
is
する
in
スタンスは
reality.
今一つつかめないな。真剣にやるべきか。
Like, it's super
片手
short
に時間
because
潰しと
it's
考える
actually
か
a lot more in
いや、
the
そも
words
そ
than
もジョ
just
ゼルの中佐にしても
putting them
その
together.
上の誰かにしてもどういう思惑でこ
Cypher?
の仕事を命じたの
Well,
か。
maybe.
う。どうした？
いえ、
I'm putting this in
そ
my
れよ
head
り
like
他に何か隠していることはありませんか？
the Da Vinci Code. Like, every little fucking
別
thing
に何
means
も隠
something
してはい
more
ない
than
ぞ。アッシュ
the
ビー
face
夫
of
人
it
の件
means.
はあまりにもバカバカしいから言わなかっただけだ。
そうですか？
まあ、その調子で何事も疑ってかかってくれ。他に何かあるか？
アシュビー提督の夫人についてもう少しレクチャーしてください。
ブルース・アッシュビーは2度結婚している。
No, no, how about you send me actual files instead of reading them to me over the phone?
26歳の時と30歳の時だ。最初の夫人
Yeah, I guess he divorced twice because otherwise it would be polyamory. Polygamy.
Well, no, I mean, his first wife could die, and then he divorced his second wife.
And then we widowed and
Nope,
divorced.
never mind, he is just that guy. How'd you know that, though? If they were secret.
アッシュビー元帥といい、リンパオ元帥といい、この国の英雄と呼ばれる人は女性関係が派手だな。
Hey, how about you just send me that thing that you're holding with all the information? So I don't have to read a bunch of books?
そりゃ私だってできればモテたいなと思いますがね。そのために努力しようという意欲までは起きませんね。そんな時間やエネ
I
ルギー
could
が
be
あ
a
ったら本で
stud,
も読んでる方
but
が
I'm
マ
not
シで
that
す。
motivated.
やれやれ。
That's a humble brag right there. Like, yeah.
まあリンパオと名コンビを歌われた
I appreciate that they added the
元帥
spittle
も
on the
女
screen
嫌い
and
で
then
有
having
名
to
だっ
wipe
た
it
らしい
off.
ですから、別に色好みが英雄の条件ってわけでもないでしょう。
確かにトパルール元帥は結婚はしなかったが、交際した女性がいなかったわけじゃない。ちゃんとやり取りした書簡も残っている。
へえ、トパロール元帥のラブレターですか。意外だな。
I'm just saying I could see these people being set up, made to be heroes, and then actually turning out to be drunken, like, sex fiends, just using the position to escape the guilt that they feel for what they're actually doing.
足りないものや不満があったらはっきり口にすることとか、そんな調子だ。
愛だの恋だのというより、今週の努力目標といったところですね。
そこがいかにもトパロール元帥らしいところでもあるがな。
まったく人それぞれですね。
You know, it makes sense that they would have the love letters if they were sent through military channels, because all that has to be screened for security purposes, right? But at the same time, if you're an admiral, you wouldn't want your love letters to be sent through military channels.
If all of that stuff was going through military channels, maybe it was all encoded. And they're not messages aren't what they're supposed to be. And the same encoding, if you use it on the Tuesday letters, reveals something.
We'll see.
I know, I'm trying to figure it out. Like I said, this is a story I don't know.
関心はあっても何か行動を起こすということとは結びつかないような気がするんですが。
He looks leveling into the screen.
お手間を取らせてすみませんでした。
He's like, oh, I see. Yeah, that expression doesn't convince me that you are as smart as you think you are. Like, what? Okay.
ブルー
I
ス・ア
got
ッ
it.
シュビー以外の730年マフィアの資料を出してくれ。ローザス提督の回想録からの抜粋でいい。
フレデリック・ジャスパーは精悍で鋭敏で直線的な男だった。マーチ・ジャスパーと呼ばれたのはダイナミズムに富んだその傭兵ぶりである。小気味のいい戦術家で、誠に派手であった。負けるときは
At the age of 20,
この男には KO 以外の終わり方というものがなかった。中途半端は俺の主義じゃないが口癖だった。彼の辞書に解消はあっても新書
had been a man of Damotilus.
はなかったのである。奇妙なジンクスを彼は持っていて、2つ続けて勝つと3度目は必ず負けた。彼の機下に配属された将兵は勝ち負け勝ち負け
What are the statistics of that happening?
負けの順番にぶつかると遺言を書いたという。蒼白になって脱走を図る者もいたというから笑い事ではないはずだ。
I'm gonna die.
焼けた黒っぽい髪のジャスパーにはどこか兵士に好かれる奇妙な愛嬌があったようだ。
Well liked 2 out of 3 times.
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna win. Which battle is this one? Oh, this is the third one. Oh, shit.
No, the worry you'd have is, was that last fight we were in a battle? Does that count? How's Balin Warwick a nickname?
当人は平然としてその異名を感受し、自己紹介するときにもぬけぬけとバロンを生命につけていた。
He's so dreamy.
You could easily do an abridged series with this.
作戦行動に不可欠の人材であった。やや黄ばんだもみじ色の髪と
I mean, he does have that feel of like a World War II British officer. World War One, even. You know, an ace pilot.
Yeah, well-proportioned teeth. Okay.
British officer.
記述とカード占いとダンスの名人だった。ギターを弾き、トランペットを吹き、チェスをたしなみ、ダーツをやり、
You know,
スキーをこなし、
Play 3D chess.
人生を多彩な花々で飾っていた。
this is getting into way a lot of detail that I think is like
Hundreds of
why do I need
characters,
to know
man.
all
We
this?
got the time.
にはやや苦味を込めた行為があ
Over
る。
200 episodes, some
多芸
movies.
多
We
彩
got
に
time to
演じ
learn everybody's
真の一流
backstory.
に達するための執念に欠けた友人を惜しんでいたのかもしれない。
俺はアシュビーの下でいい。最高責任者になるなんて野暮なことさ。俺はそうだな。
I guess I was wrong. He's not from
いつ
Britain.
も
He's from
上手なアマ
Texas.
チュアでいたいんだ。
That was a cravat. The cravat, right? The
No,
the
cravat
necktie.
is what. God, the guy from Scooby Doo. The
Yeah.
the thing he wears around his neck, the cravat. It's I can't remember what that's
Necktie?
called. It's a kind of necktie. I can't remember what it's called.
彼の前にはいつもアッシュビーがいたのだ。複雑な心理を浄化するために冗談が必要だったのかもしれない。ジョン・ドリンカー・コープのミドルネームはのんべえという意味の異名ではなく歴然たる
Bolo tie. That's what it's called.
Yeah. He called you out. It's like that's not a hey, something you call a drunkard.
アルコールに対するアレルギー体質の所有者で一滴の酒も飲めなかった。勝利の祝杯でさえアップルジュースであげた。一度バロン・ウォーリックがいたずらっ気を出してシャンペンのグラスとすり替えたところ、飲んだ直後に全身にジンマシンが出てひっくり返り大騒動になった。ウォーリックは身から出たサビとはいえ
The name of a disc poisoning
ジ
alcohol
ンマシ
shoot.
ンを理由に始末書を
Yeah, that English.
提督となったのである。コープもまた称賛されるに至る戦術家であり、与えられた戦術的課題をよくこなして同盟軍の勝利に貢献した。特に逃げる敵を追撃して戦力を削ぐのが巧みであった。ビットリオ・デ・ベルティーニは一般にはそやな可視感型の前線指揮官
So the question that always comes to my mind when seeing people like this is how did you get those scars on a battleship?
破壊力をアッシュビーにすら勝った。重量的なボクサーを思わせる体育と無数の小さな戦傷に彩られた赤銅色の顔と怖い頬ひげ。このような容姿は確かにそやな猛将というイメージを強化させるものである。だが日常的にはこの男は気の優しい人物だ。
We're going to cover everyone's backstories, but you're not going to tell us where the scars come from.
小柄な女性と結婚し、熊とリスの結婚だなどとジャスパーにからかわれながらニコニコしていた。
And the gift they gave her in for the wedding night was a ladder.
I almost feel like these people don't like each other. One guy nearly poisoned the other, and the other guy is like, you two are fucking too short between each other. Like, what is going on? I understand, college kids.
全体の劣勢の中でただ一人戦線を維持して、ついには戦局全体の逆転の契機を作ったことが一度や二度ではない。気難しく堅苦しい性格で、冗談が飛んで同席者が笑った時でもニコリともしなかった。
You know, considering how famous all these people are, you would think he would know all this in the academy, right? Oh, and then again, they close their history department. So,
Well,
yeah.
he knows. Yeah, well, he knows the main guy, the guy he's researching, because he said, "Are you kidding me? Of course I know who this is." But this is the difference between knowing somebody like as a legend and having to do like a research paper on them.
この堅苦しい男を最も信頼していたのかもしれない。決して好いてはいなかったが。
I have to think what we're doing here is going over the whole history repeats itself angle. That everyone we're learning about here is going to be somebody mirrored in his staff to come, right? Well, that seems to be the meta theme of everything happening here, is that...
So Yang would be like the top hero, and then everyone else.
Yeah, the guy they're investigating.
自らその任を自分に課していた。実際、私が指揮官として単独行動した時は、平均より多少マシというレベルであったろうと思う。だが、アッシュビーの参謀長を務めること6回、 10年にわたりその信任は厚かったと自負している。宇宙歴
Imagine getting the animation directions for this.
アッシュビーが宇宙艦隊司令長官に叙せられる。
Yang looks intently on, fidgeting every couple of minutes.
また730年マフィアがとささやかれるやや
I mean, this is a lot of exposition, you know.
I think it's the point of the whole 14 episodes. I thought there was a fly on my screen for a second.
730年マフィアで生き残っているのはこの人だけ。
Clearwater
だと
Prize
したら、
for
とりあえ
writing
ず
a
この人
novel.
に会って話を聞いてみるしか
Well, it's
ない。
non-fiction, so it wasn't a novel. A memoir.
You can write a non-fiction novel.
No.
こうして
By
ヤンウェ
definition,
ン
you
リー
can't.
はアルフレッド・ローザス提督の家
Well.
を訪問することになった。宇宙歴788年10月4日のことである。
Gonna have to add that to my timeline. I guess you're right. I didn't know the definition of a novel was that it had to be fictitious. I thought it was like a film, right? A film doesn't have to be fiction or nonfiction. A film, by definition, just has to be a set amount of time and over. So I was counting like the difference between a short story, a novel, etc. Not a lot to say about the in-depth look at a bunch of people that are dead. Could be that they're not dead.
I mean, I'm going to say this.
Bad
But
episode, good episode, bad episode.
No. I like the subject matter. I like that he's investigating. That's fascinating. I like the look of these characters. But I would say we need much any and it. That's usually something you're not supposed to do. Just give exposition like that, right?
Yeah, show
So
don't tell,
you-
like I said before.
Exactly. So have him visiting places, talking to people. Like, oh yes, they show, for example, in the background there was the academy, so he visits the academy and talks to somebody, and you can even have a narrator talking over that, right? Like he could be hearing them because he's hearing the memoir, the audiobook essentially of the memoir, right?
I have to think
So
this
he
is
could
like one for one with the novel or something, like the novelization.
Yeah.
And that this was just like a whole chapter of, names, titles. Like that one part of the Bible. Ipse, beget, ante. Beget.
資料での調査に行き詰まったヤンは730年マフィアの最後の生き残りであるアルフレッド・ローザス退役大将のもとを訪れる。ヤンを歓迎するローザスだったが、そこには踏み込むことを許されない壁も存在した。次回銀河英雄伝説外伝スパイラルラビリンス第4話。
Or this would have been what he would have done immediately. Oh, this guy's alive. Just talk to him. It's like
I was almost hoping that the next episode would have Yang still in the chair. Like, just more. The next 10 episodes are just Yang in a chair listening to basically either a biographer or, his old. Just more of this. Just more of this to see what your reaction would be. I would sit through another 24 minutes of this just to see the next time on for you to go, what?
They're also handsome.
Well, that's
Oh
why
my
I was.
God.
That's why I was joking before about what I wanted what the animation direction was on this. That the storyboards of Yang is watching a thing that's talking to him.
Yeah.
Whatever I do when you're doing the recap, if you don't say anything wrong, it's all 100% right. Where I'm just like, just like, I'm here.
I mean, I think it's necessary exposition to understand, because this is basically a murder investigation, what he's trying to do, right? So you have to get the clues. But again, someone else would have him like, oh, he's going to go to the academy and find teachers or something like that, or people who remember, or records, or stuff like that, right? You would have him do something, even if you have the narration, like, oh yeah, he's walking, he's moving, he's like.
I can't wait for episode 14 where it turns out he wasn't murdered at all, and this was all for nothing.
And just to know that people, just to give you a sense of, hey, I spent all this time writing this lore to this universe, and by God, we're gonna animate it, and you're gonna watch it.
Turns out he was a hero the whole time, and that was the end of the story.
Yes.
Turns out that
Yep.
maybe you shouldn't investigate a guy who says the same sentence. Sorry, the woman who sends the same sentence 36 times in a row. Maybe you gotta get your spam filter checked. Yeah, like I said though, obviously I'm rewatching these episodes. I'm going to be taking notes about everything. Obviously, I don't think I'm going to be taking that in-depth notes about the people themselves unless I'm like planning to do the investigation too, so that I can be like, oh, if you go back to the first guy and the fifth guy, there's conflicting information there. Like somebody didn't get their stories. Like unless something jumps out to me to do my own thing, it's just going to be like dates. I'm going to be adding to my little calendar of dates the same way I did before.
But I will say this is even better than Macross 7 because Macross 7 would just have repeat animation of there'll be a lot of action. It was like, oh, the enemy attacks. We go and defend ourselves. Bazara blocks the attacks and writes a sing. Oh, they left before he could sing to them. Rinse and repeat for like 6, 8 episodes.
That
He was
is a hard choice. Do I want 24 minutes of exposition with one guy just doing the same thing at the camera with classical music? Or do I want repeated frames of the same animation with 80s rock? I think I'm going to go with Macross 7 on this one. I'm really liking that this is like heavy on the world building. Like the animations might be reused, but you can tell that there's a, I don't know if passion is the right word because you can have passion for teaching. So there's a passion for getting the world building out there, right? Like if this was in the book, you might be like, okay, I'll just put a marker here so that when they tell me something later that I should already know, I can come back and like, oh yeah, the biography, that thing. This is a bad. This feels like a bad. What do you call it? Not transcription.
Exposition?
No, not exposition.
Yeah,
it is an exposition, but the changing of one format to the other. I don't know if this has come up in a conversation and a recording we've been in, but typically when you're watching like trailers for new anime and whatnot, you can tell the ones are better are the ones that come from manga to anime than say the if there's a short novel version or whatever they call that.
light novel, yeah.
Yeah, from the light novel to anime because they typically, those are the ones that you get the character standing still and their thoughts just coming out because that's how it's written in the book. So that's how we're going to do it here. Versus the manga has already been artistically like animated for frame to frame kind of stuff. So if you translate that or make your own translation of that, tends to be better.
Well, I think it's maybe it might be a thing of, and this might be traditional anime. You don't want to violate the source material too much. Like people who might have read the novel go like, "Oh, but I did like the part when he spent like 5-10 pages reading the biography of this person. Why didn't you put that in the anime? Right?
Well,
Like that's
technically,
important. I need you to."
I mean, technically, you remember this is side material, so this
Yeah.
is for those people.
Yeah,
I'm just saying
so-
that there's a general, my experience. This might not be like a rule or anything, but it's been my notice, my experience that translating it from the light novel to directly to anime comes out with a more true to source, assuming that the light novel is the source, more true to that, but not exactly fitting with modern anime standards. Clearly, that would fit 80s to 90s anime standards, but because that's what existed.
But even then, I would say that you have to do that. You have to understand that you're talking about two different mediums, right?
Well, that's what I mean when you're transcribing from one medium to the other. The manga has already been artistically transcribed from as close to the source, and you can do more exposition type stuff that you do in the books. And a character standing around thinking to themselves is easier to do in a manga because it's just like one frame and you can just include everything around it. Versus then anime, which the difference between, say, a light novel and a manga is the frame. The frame can encapsulate an entire chapter if you can do it right. Versus the difference between a manga and an animation is time. The reader can spend as much time as they want reading a single panel, versus you have to animate voice and it has to span a set amount of time. So that one panel could be 5 seconds in the anime. It could be the entire goddamn anime if it's an exposition about listening to a computer read out a bunch of biographies. So that's what I mean. The manga to anime is easier to denote because it's basically storyboarding for you. And it's just been my experience that if your source is manga, and then there's the unknowable that this has no source. No, they made it themselves, or the worst of it, it's made from a video game. It's hard. I don't think I've seen many good anime from game sources. I know there's exceptions. Fate, I think, is an exception because I think that starts as a game. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm trying to figure out what to say here about this episode because
there's really not much to say. Really, it's all exposition, nothing more.
Well, there's an element of when I react to anime by myself, right? The first thing I do is I watch the anime and I'm flippant and I'm jokey and I'm whatever. A lot of shit will be missed by me. And then when I watch it by myself, what I do is I go back around and I just record myself, headset off, not talking, just watching it, taking notes, so people can say I'm doing it. Then I just fast forward that into like a 3-minute quick fast forward with the theme song of the show playing, and then I come back for my final segment, which is talking about my notes, so that I get everything encapsulated into one episode instead of what we do here, which is watch the show and then I come back next time with all my notes. So I just mean to say that I don't have really a lot to say about the actual content of this episode because I was flippant, I was jokey. That's my actual reaction to it. I'm going to come back with actual notes about stuff. And I want to include that in this because if somebody's watching and like, fuck these two, I'll be like, no, I'll be serious next time about this episode.
I mean, a lot here, when I say there's not a lot to say, is that yes, because of this exposition, there's a lot to be said, but in part parceling what's really important versus, spending like a minute or two of animation with a guy with a trumpet and a guitar and surrounded by women. That was actually was the most animated part of it. It's like, they show this guy was very handsome. Like, okay, you could have just done that in one frame. Like, it's like,
I think
that tells
to what
that
you
might be
were
important later, but maybe not. It feels like we don't have the context yet. So
to what you were saying before, I think that the more modern thing to do would have been gone to that guy's house, and then he starts talking about his time in the past, and then we fade into not hearing him, but experiencing it for ourselves. But again, the problem there might be that they're trying to tell us that the information is wrong, and you don't want... I guess you could see wrong information and then see it right. Never mind, I've talked myself out of it.
you have 14 episodes. You could have a later episode when he actually visits the places or talk to other people or finds other source material or like, this is one person's view. This is memoir. Clearly, it's his point of view. So,
I mean, there's also an element that we might be like cutting ourselves off the legs here, that we're watching in chronological order. That these might be people that everybody who watches the show automatically knows, like, oh, those are those guys that did the thing, and oh, I love those guys. And we're like, God, they won't shut up about these fucking guys. Or there's a character on the Imperial side who's got like, what's his name, Muckenberg. Maybe Muckenberg has this whole fucking thing about these guys because of what they went through with his dad. And it's like, that's supposed to be our perspective because Muckenberg is all about this shit, but we don't know Muckenberg yet. So it's just like, other than what they brought up on the screen. And then it's like, I don't care about these guys. And it turns out Muckenberg turns out to be our favorite guy later. And it's like, oh, well, I feel bad I talked all that shit back then. So yeah, I think we might just be like understanding later, but for now, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Because again, it could be later, this is nothing. And it was never anything. But yeah, final thought?
That's about it.
All right. Once again, I have been Theta. This has been Lessons. We've been Stoneface Reactions, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stone-Faced Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about this video, what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?